Wednesday, June 10th, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Elena Rossi, and I'm here to ensure that cool tech never overshadows physical risk.
This is Buck Reynolds.
I'm Jules Sterling.
And I'm Dan Miller. We have a great show for you today.
Before we dive into the wreckage of the insurance markets, actually, I suppose we should recap yesterday. We talked about Amazon's massive robotics push in Europe, those Proteus 2.0 units, and that $580 billion Build America Act.
The thing is, I'm still buzzing about that bill. I mean, finally, the feds realized that if a driver can't find a restroom or a place to park, the whole circulatory system of this country just clots. It's about time they stopped treating us like an afterthought.
Look, the bottom line is it's a prevent defense. Yesterday was the setup. Today is the kickoff. We're looking at a market hitting its highest peak in 4 years. And here's the play. We've got driverless trucks finally hitting commercial scale. Real volume, real routes.
It's sort of a commercial scale milestone week, right? Well, okay. We're not talking about pilots anymore. We're talking about 40. Yes, 40 fully driverless trucks. Dan, you want to lead us off with the Getique news?
Look, the industry has been waiting for this proof point, and PepsiCo just delivered it. According to FreightWaves and the Retail Tech Innovation Hub, PepsiCo and Gatic just launched the largest commercial autonomous freight deployment in U.S. history.
Actually, I want to clarify the scope there. 40 trucks, no safety drivers, no observers. They're running regional middle-mile routes across Texas, Arizona, and Arkansas, serving 250 retail locations like Walmart and Dollar General.
Well, here's the deal, Dan. Arkansas? Have you driven the surface streets in Arkansas lately? I mean, the thing is, navigating a hub-to-hub route on a dry Tuesday in Texas is one thing. But navigating a four-way stop in a storm with no human in the cab? I'm skeptical. My thing is, if that truck can't smell a failing wheel bearing, who's stopping it before it starts a fire?
Look, Getique is reporting a 98 to 99% on-time delivery track record in these networks. They're using GRS, Getique Remote Supervisors. It's one human overseeing multiple trucks from a control room. If the truck sees something it doesn't understand, it asks for a go-no-go decision. Bottom line, it's capacity expansion. They can't find enough drivers for these short-haul, high-frequency, middle-mile turns.
And it's sort of building a colleague relationship with AI, right? Not just a tool. It's AI as a colleague. PepsiCo's Jim Farrell was very clear that this is about growth. But Buck, I know you're just thrilled about drones, too. Walmart and Wing just added 7 new markets.
Drones. I saw the report. Philadelphia, Phoenix, Salt Lake City. They're trying to deliver cough medicine and ingredients in 30 minutes. Look, it's fine for a box of Band-Aids, but you can't run a supply chain on things that weigh 5 pounds and fly at 60 miles an hour.
Actually, you see, the risk profile shifts when you move to drones. If a drone drops a package on a pedestrian, that's a very different legal headache than a fender bender. But, while we're on the subject of efficiency, we should talk about the pre-pass data that just came out.
Oh, the Mile Marker 2026 Index?
Exactly. They've quantified the economics of the bypass. Every single way station bypass returns 7 minutes of drive time and half a gallon of fuel. For a 300-truck fleet, it's over $830,000 in annual savings.
Look, that's a massive win for the operating ratio. If you can save nearly $1 million just by having a good safety record and a transponder, why wouldn't you? It's a ball control offense. Keep the clock moving, right?
Here's the deal, though, Dan. I've seen those DOT boys. They don't care about your transponder if they see a frayed strap or a light out. I mean, the thing is, technology is great, But a bypass doesn't mean you can skip your pre-trip. If you're using bypass tech as a hall pass to run junk equipment, Elaine is going to have a field day with you.
Actually, you're right, Buck. Top performers are moving toward predictive maintenance. They aren't waiting for the inspection to find the fault. But, before we move on to the bridge news, we have to mention what Jules found on the last mile diversification.
Well, okay. Shippers are moving away from the big three. Regional and local providers delivered over 1.3 billion packages last year. That's a 211% increase since 2021. Even Nespresso is diversifying their mix. It's sort of a circular logistics play now, too, where they're doing pickups and deliveries in the same loop.
It's the death of the monopoly, Jules. Shippers are tired of being held hostage by the big guys' surcharges.
Well, speaking of bottlenecks and surcharges, let's talk about the North. Monday is the big day.
The Gordie Howe International Bridge. It's finally happening. Ribbon cutting is this Friday, June 12th, and it opens to the public on Monday. $6.4 billion. A direct freeway link from Michigan's I-75 to Ontario's Highway 401.
Look, that bridge is a 1.5-mile-long trade artery. For 30 years, everything had to funnel through the Ambassador Bridge, which meant stoplights, local traffic, and a massive headache for Windsor residents. Now, it's a straight shot. Bottom line, this is going to handle 25% of all U.S.-Canada trade.
I've spent more hours sitting at those stoplights in Windsor than I care to count. The thing is, I hope they've got the Nexus and fast lanes dialed in. If we just move the bottleneck from the bridge to the customs booth, we haven't won anything.
Actually, the WDBA confirmed they have dedicated gates for Nexus. But, I suppose we should mention the diplomatic friction. Canada paid for almost the whole thing. It's now the longest cable-stayed bridge in North America, and it's essentially a $6 billion bet on the continued health of the auto industry corridor.
Speaking of betting on trade, I want to look south for a second. The port of Chancay in Peru.
Oh, the China-backed mega project?
Fully operational as of this morning. Costco Shipping, which is state-owned by China, now has a deep water gateway in the Western Hemisphere that cuts transit time to Asia by 12 days. 35 days down to 23. Look, this is the first port on that coast that can host the ultra-large ships that can't even fit through the Panama Canal.
That makes me nervous, Dan. The thing is, the Pentagon is worried about dual use. You build a port deep enough for a 20,000-unit container ship, you've built a port deep enough for a warship. My thing is, we're letting our logistics lunch get eaten right on our own doorstep.
Actually, Buck, you're hitting the nail on the head. Geopolitical risk is the new standard operating procedure. We're seeing it in the Strait of Hormuz with dark transits, ships turning off their tracking. And we're seeing it in the $166 billion tariff refund standoff.
Wait, the DOJ is still fighting the refund order?
Yes. The Supreme Court said the surcharges were unconstitutional. But the Department of Justice just filed an appeal to freeze the universal refund process. Companies were expecting that cash to help with fleet modernization. Now, it's stuck in the reliquidation standoff.
Typical. They're quick to take your money, but they'll fight you for a decade before they give it back.
Well, speaking of things that help keep this show running, Dan, you want to take a break?
Look, before we get into the labor chaos and the strategic reset of 2026, we have a quick note for the folks listening.
Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering. This show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Support the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF guide. Now it's time for Iron Lady's Verdict, our Wednesday segment where we look at the forensic reality of what's failing in the field. We have a major safety alert that every fleet manager needs to document immediately. NHTSA and Stellantis just finalized a recall for 1.1 million Jeep Wranglers and Gladiators, specifically model years 2021 through 2025.
1.1 million? That's not a small batch. What's the failure?
The electric hydraulic power steering, or EHPS pump. The engineering root cause is a manufacturing tolerance error. During assembly, robots or technicians had to use excessive insertion force to seat the wiring harness. That force spread the electrical terminals, creating high resistance.
High resistance? So it's a fire risk?
Exactly. It creates localized heat that melts the connector and ignites the housing. But here is the forensic reality that should terrify you. These fires are happening while the ignition is off.
Wait, so the truck is just sitting in the yard at 2 a.m. and it just... here's the play. It just spontaneously combusts?
Precisely. Stellantis opened an investigation in May of 23, but they closed it because the fire rate seemed low. This is exactly what I mean when I say low incidence complacency is a killer. 72 confirmed field reports later, and now we have a 1 million unit recall. Actually, you see, if you have these in your light-duty fleet, you cannot play the odds.
Yeah, my thing is, if it's a manufacturing tolerance issue, how do you even fix it?
They have to replace the harness and the pump header. But, the other verdict today is even bigger for the C-suite. We are talking about the death of the broker shield.
You mean the Supreme Court ruling in Montgomery v. Caribe Transport 2?
Yes, it's the final word. For 30 years, brokers used the FAAA preemption to block negligent hiring lawsuits. They'd say, hey, as long as the carrier has an active DOT number, we aren't responsible if they crash. Unanimously, 9-0, the Supreme Court just threw that shield in the trash.
Look, that's a massive hit. That means if a broker hires a carrier with a conditional safety rating and there's an accident, that broker is now legally liable for the hiring decision.
Exactly. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote it herself. Negligent hiring claims fall under the safety exception. If I am a broker, I am purging every conditional rated carrier from my system by Monday morning. The era of checkbox vetting is over. Actually, you see, this is going to trigger a flight to quality that will consolidate the industry like we've never seen.
I mean, I hate to say it, but some of those carriers with conditional ratings shouldn't have been on the road anyway. But the thing is, this is going to kill a lot of small owner-operators who are just one bad inspection away from being blacklisted by every broker in the country.
That is the Iron Lady's verdict for this Wednesday. Consistency isn't just a goal, it's a legal requirement.
Well, if you want to talk about consistency and consolidation, we have to look at our main story today, the strategic reset of the freight market.
Look, the numbers coming out this week from FTR and ACT Research are, bottom line, staggering. The Trucking Conditions Index just hit 11.6. That's the highest reading since early 2022. A reading above 10 means the environment is heavily favoring carriers.
And Class 8 truck orders are, well, they're vertical. 26,600 units in May, a 124% jump year over year.
It's the EPA pre-buy, Dan. I mean, here's the deal. Everyone knows that 2027 NOx rule is going to make trucks more expensive and harder to maintain. So fleets are rushing to buy the 2026 iron while it still has the old tech. Analysts are saying build slots for the rest of the year will be sold out by August.
It's more than just the pre-buy, Buck. Spot rates are finally starting to offset fuel costs. Look, the LTL sector is leading the charge here. ArcBest and ABF Freight just announced a 5.9% general rate increase, effective June 22nd.
In June? That's sort of an unusual time for a GRI, right? Usually that happens in the fall.
Exactly. It signals extreme pricing discipline. They reported a 10% revenue increase, even though daily tonnage was slightly down. They aren't chasing volume anymore, they're chasing margin. They know the capacity isn't there, so they're pushing the price.
Wonderful. So the shipper pays more, the consumer pays more, and the fleets are scrambling to buy trucks they can't even get parts for half the time.
But Buck, look at the labor side. FedEx pilots finally ratified that 4-year deal. 83% majority.
Actually, let's look at those numbers. A 40% wage increase over 4 years. $150,000 in retroactive back pay for captains. First officers are getting $102,000. It's the most engaging vote they've ever had. 98.5% participation.
Look, FedEx had to do this. They just spun off the freight division 9 days ago. They're doing Network 2.0, integrating everything into one machine. They couldn't afford a pilot strike or even a work-to-rule slowdown right now. This buy-in gives them the labor stability they need for the next 5 years.
That's a lot of money, Dan. I'm glad the boys in the cockpit are getting paid, but that's a massive overhead hit. Between that and the aviation fuel costs hitting $6.5 billion a month, it's a tightrope walk.
Actually, the aviation sector's fuel bill is up 78% since April. My thing is, we are seeing a recarbonization of corporate strategy. Look at BP. Their new CEO, Meg O'Neill, just gutted the integrated energy model. They're pivoting back to upstream and downstream. Oil and gas first, renewables move to a sidelined technology function.
Bottom line, the market is tired of low single-digit returns on green energy when oil trading and refining margins are exceptional. It's a reality check across the entire supply chain, from the trucks to the ships to the fuel they burn.
It's sort of a back-to-basics moment, right? Even with the drones and the driverless trucks, the core of the business, the rates, the fuel, the legal liability, that's what's defining 2026.
Precisely. We're moving out of the experimental phase of the post-pandemic market and into the institutional phase. If you aren't scaled up, protected by data-driven vetting, and locked into your 2026 build slots, well, I suppose you're just a target for the next lawsuit.
Oh, it's a tough road, but it's the only one we've got. I'm just glad we've got a bridge to get across the river now.
Look, the strategic reset is here. If you're not playing for the fourth quarter, you've already lost the game.
That's all for today's High Road Logistics and Leadership. The Silicon Colleague is here, the broker shield is dead, and the Class 8 market is on fire.
See you tomorrow.
Catch you then.
Later.
Stay safe out there, and watch your blind spots. Remote supervisors aren't perfect.